Hello again. This is the next video addressing the question laid by Dr. Gibbs-Miller about basically revelation of past crimes by a client in session for which they've not been incriminated. This is the first time this information is coming to light in therapy room. Yeah, this is definitely one to consider. I think this is why informed consent at the beginning is so important, like to really lay out what actually means about confidentiality and about situations that might come up, that information that's relayed, like that is going to cause the therapist to have to question whether this is something that needs to be brought out to, the authorities, legal system, etc., or if it's something that is able to lay with the client and be able to uphold, full confidentiality in that case, and that the legal implications are not going to be significant or really a factor in this case. And I know we talked about this kind of issue at my site when we talked about disclosure, where we talked about just informed consent and mandatory reporting, and I know we discussed the idea of like the first and foremost thing is everyone's safety. So this element of danger, is it if a client has committed some crimes, assault, things in the past, is it relevant on today's actions that they would still do that they're still with someone who's vulnerable, or I think a lot would lay with the client, like what's their attitude about it. Where are they now? Are they violent? Are they having issues that are related to what they've done in the past, or has this really been, have they maybe not dealt with it, but like, is that something that's really like, no, I'd never do that again today, I'm really a changed person? Or, was there any reparations made with the other person, or could there be reparations made, even privately with that party or something? So assessing the dangerousness of anybody involved here, with that client or those particular people or any other persons that could be harmed by the client. So that's, I would think, the number one consideration, and that's something we did discuss at my site and was raised. And this kind of notion of harm, if it happened that long ago, is it going to bring more harm, to bring it out to the light now, or is it something can be really dealt with the client in the room? And the same issue of like the dangerousness, risk assessment of that was raised by Wang Mo and Handke in an article I found called Disclosure of Past Crimes, an Analysis of Mental Health Professionals' Attitudes Towards Breaching Confidentiality. So really good, doing some research of interviews basically with mental health professionals around this issue of like, what do you think are the concerns? What are the issues here? They raised a lot of questions. Why is the information being divulged now? Why is it coming out? What is it that's prompting the client? Are they ready to do some work around that? Is there some other issues coming up for them? What is the significance of it? Does it change the dangerousness of the situation of, say, someone who's in the prison system or something, where I think this could be a much more relevant and likely happening scenario if you're dealing with a client who's, they're dealing with current client crimes and things, or things that, recent past, but could the far past, have some consequences on, their sentence or parole or whatever, for them. So, of course, possibility of harm to a third person. I mentioned about, is there any way to make reparations, with those parties or with the person, with the client, with themselves on that. I remember when I worked for the government, basically myself as a mental health professional on that side of it, in this situation, when I worked for the government as being a government professional, I always had to ask myself if I came before a court of law and had to defend my actions and my decisions in this situation, could I do that? Could I be completely comfortable saying I made this decision based on this factor and just made the best decision that I could at the time? And my feeling as a mental health professional is that it definitely weighing heavily on the side of ethical considerations, because that is my license on the line. That is me being able to explain why, went on this, and not to discount the legal implications, but I have a first and foremost an ethical responsibility to my clients, and also to make sure everyone's safe and that harm is not caused further. So that has to be really looked at. It's due diligence, you know, what they call due diligence. It's like, did I take all the steps that I could? Did I consider all of the issues here? Did I find out all the information from the client? Did I do my own research? Did I consult? Did I go for supervision on this? Did I completely, fully get support and clarification around this very tricky issue? Was I leading by any emotions? You know, was I being really professional and leading by reason and research and complete, you know, knowledge of as much information as possible about this? So my professional conduct, you know, is first and foremost here, along with, of course, safety and harm considerations. On the other thing too, you know, the client is making themselves quite vulnerable with this and might be worried that that the counseling relationship will be severed because of revealing this information. The article also mentioned that some professionals would want to cut that off. Maybe they're very uncomfortable with this. You know, maybe they thought it might be justified. Oh no, you've gone too far here. I can't work with you anymore. This is client abandonment, and this is also harm causing. So we need to deal with it and continue the relationship with the client. You know, if everybody's safe, again, if mental health professionals safe and all of that, again, considering that. But that was something that, you know, we identified at my site too. It's like, assure the client, you know, you'll continue to work with them, that this information, you know, is something to be considered, but you know, what is going to happen with the counseling relationship going forward? I mean, and if it's something that, you know, where confidentiality has to be breached, then it has to be very clearly articulated as to why, and very carefully handled. So, yeah, because it's like everybody, you know, therapist and client are vulnerable when this comes out, you know. And so it's, you know, it's really case specific as well. It's depending on what is revealed and the situation of the client. So, yeah, good question. Thanks.